Oh, wait, the phrase has changed. I don't remember what the phrase is, but I will be reminded once our co-host comes up. But I got to give the horn because it is the first tipping points and puzzle pieces of the new year. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages. It is January 3rd, it's 1 p.m., and it is the very first episode of 2024, but it is episode 97. Again, we don't do it alone. Let me bring on the esteemed gentleman, the distinguished gentleman, and all other things that start with D, Mark Boatwright Frost. Hello, sir.
Hello, and how delightful.
I'm wondering if that's the D word you were thinking about, but because I can see you smiling in the green room.
Yeah, so I was going, damn.
So how are you doing?
Good. So the catchphrase these days is the most human hour of your week.
The most human hour of your week.
What do we talk about every week? We talk about humanity.
That is true. The most human hour of your week. You want to give us a prelude, and then I'll jump off really quick and then rejoin?
Well, we're going to be talking about perception and perspective, and especially if you could see the background that I chose to put up today, it's kind of like that whole, where is everything kind of feel. And we're going to be talking about, what we see, what we perceive, and most importantly, where the information that causes perception happens for each of us. So you go ahead and pop off and restart your computer. Marwan's getting his stuff fixed. We're having a little bit of an internet issue today. Hopefully mine will stay live for a bit. So welcome to 2024. This is episode 97, and that means there's 3 more episodes to 100. We've already decided what the topics are going to be. I know that's so unusual. We usually figure it out as we're doing it on the day. But we have figured it out, and we will be building to the final 100 and even 101 over the next few weeks. Marwan and I are talking about a little bit of a different setup for episode 100. We have to deal with some logistics on that. But there are a few things I wanted to talk about in advance. One, again, reminder that we do the meet and greets every Saturday at Cups Cafe or Sunday at Cups Cafe at 10 to noon. And we look forward to people being there so we can just talk about what we're talking about, make new friends, have a cup of coffee, and start building some continuity and some resilience and moving forward into building communities. There's a lot of new information on the Kids Up Resiliency Project page. We have a new infographic that we put up that has been getting some very good responses. It kind of walks through a 10-step process about how we are building this project and how we build toward the outcome. We are moving forward on Matthew's Garden. We are planning on doing some movie nights in the near future. We're still trying to work out the logistics of that. But what we would like to do is show Need to Grow. We'd like to show the Soylent Green movie again. We'd like to show a series of movies that are fun and educational and spur discussion. We'd also like to start at the meet and greets having a little bit of a discussion group about different things that we're working on. Again, I'd like to remind you that the reading that we suggest for people is Ishmael by Daniel Quinn and The Four Agreements by Miguel Ruiz. Would love to have a group discussion about that at Cups Cafe sometime. We're trying to work up so we can get people together and talking and growing and doing amazing things because our future is together. It's the only way we're going to get to one. And we need to learn how to do that again because after COVID, and I just wrote this recently, after COVID, we had this post-COVID thing going on where we kind of got isolated and then we ended up embracing the isolation. And now we need to learn how to get out of that and start moving forward again. So Marwan's back and he doesn't seem to be freezing every other time. So he must have warmed his room up.
I think
and
I'm good.
and soon he's going to be doing the robot. So well.
Hey, AI is a coming.
Yep. As we go. So I put a link in the private chat for you to put up for people. Uh,
Okay.
we have launched, yes, we have launched the announcement for Stone Soup.
Oh, nice. I like
And
it.
in the event, we actually did an event, and in the event of Stone Soup, we tell the story of Stone Soup. So you kind of get a sense of where, if you haven't heard it, you get a sense of where we're going with this. It is on Facebook. It is going to be at the West Side Improvement Club. It is on February 9th at 6 p.m. Entrance fee is something for the soup. We are doing soups that are vegetarian. We're doing soups that are meat. We are hoping people will bring some beef bones, things like that, so we can do a few soups. And because we're looking at this like a village coming together to eat out of a giant pot, we would like you to bring your bowl and your spoon with you.
Oh, nice. Okay.
So you can come and we will fill your bowl and you can eat, and we will have tables there with gardening information, project information, renewable energy information. We're trying to provide resources for you to see what you can do and what the world can be if we come together. So there we are. Bring your own bowl. Okay, as opposed to bring your own booze. Okay,
So let me ask you a question because this
sure.
popped in my head. So if your entry is to bring something from the soup, do you need to bring it before the soup is completed? So it's going to be a part of the soup?
Yeah, if they could bring it beforehand, that would be great. If you're bringing something like cabbage, we can add that at the end. If you're providing meat or potatoes or something to take a while to cook, if you can bring them by earlier in the day, that would be fabulous.
Gotcha. Okay. And then will you be making two versions of the soup for people that have celiac disease or gluten allergies or things of that nature?
Absolutely. And we will have both gluten-free bread and regular bread to have with your soup.
I might just say if there's a place that you could put that on here, just to let people know. I know they super appreciate that because a lot of folks don't go to a lot of things just because of that.
Yeah, no, I am allergic to wheat and corn, so I am
Mhm.
going to have your back. Trust me. We will have as few peanuts and everything else as we can possibly have. We will be making 3 or 4 different soups probably, and so we'll have something for you to have.
I like it.
So yeah, the reality is food is an issue these days, and a lot of allergens are happening because of the way we grow food. So we want to have it as fresh and as an organic as we can get. And I think it's appropriate that because of the story of Stone Soup that everybody brings something for the pot.
Let me ask, is there any chance that we can reverse the damage we've done by the way that we are growing food today? Because
Yes,
we're trying to
absolutely.
do a bigger, faster, it's not
Cheaper,
better. It's bigger,
cheaper.
yeah, cheaper, and it's killing us, literally.
Right. And it's becoming more expensive because we are now growing with more chemicals than we ever had before. And this is by design so that the chemical companies can continue to sell the products in more and more quantity. I mean, when you think about the way we do capitalism, it's just continually sell more product. And at the risk of our planet, at the risk of our human beings, at the risk of the frustration of somebody who bought a drill a year ago and it suddenly doesn't work.
Wait, and you know what? I've not asked these questions before, but this is a huge concern to me, and I lament a lot with folks. When I was in my elementary and junior high school days, I didn't know about gluten allergies. I never heard of celiac disease. I know some of these things were around, but these were like ultra rare, like maybe one kid in the class or in all of my classes together had an issue like that. And now it's like a third of the
Everywhere.
class has some kind of an allergy, right?
Well, I will tell you that what I have heard, I have not done the study, I do not have the information at my fingertips, but I am not allergic to gluten per se.
Mhm.
I am allergic to wheat. And I suspect, and this is me being very clear, I suspect that if what I heard is true, that several, like 15, 20 years ago, they started spraying the wheat crops with glyphosate to produce more seed as they're dying. Now, I have no idea if that's real or not, but that's about the time that I started having issues with bread and wheat. And then what would happen is I would have migraines that would go on for 4 or 5 days,
Mm.
and I would be incapacitated, literally. I stopped eating wheat. I stopped having migraines.
I believe it was last year I learned of folks being allergic to apples. I'm like,
Mhm.
apples? Strawberries?
Yep.
There are some bizarre allergies. And it's like, I've never heard of anyone having
Well,
these.
I know that there was genetic work being done 7 years ago or so to splice salmon genes into strawberries.
Why? Why would you do
Um, to longevity, making them last longer, not rot as quickly.
That's disgusting. Okay, so
I
again,
don't know if that's a market. And again, I am very honest about saying I do not know if that ever went to market or not. But I also know that we have lab grown meat here now,
yeah,
and
and that's
I'm a
disgusting.
little concerned about that as well.
If you've seen the images of that, I encourage you to Google that. I won't pull that up here, as some of you may be in your lunch hour, but it's not appetizing looking at that. So my question again is there a way that we can reverse that, and what can we, the people, do in that regard?
Create the will. We, the people, need to create the will, and for that, we need to come together and we need to ask these questions. There, as you've already pointed out, there are
Mhm.
lots of people affected by this, but we are not together saying enough of this garbage.
And to your point, I think there's more people affected than they know, right?
Yep.
I get almost like it's what is it? Narcolepsy if I
Mhm.
eat certain foods, right? And it's like I can't believe that it's just knocking me out in 30 minutes. We all joke about Thanksgiving dinner and the turkey and what's in the turkey, but I'm talking about just, if I have potatoes and it's 5 o'clock in the afternoon or 6 o'clock, or it could be at lunchtime. I'm ready to go to bed like it's bedtime, right?
Yep.
I'm exhausted, and I just can't explain it. So I think a lot of people are suffering from that.
And
Maybe
they
they're
don't
having
even know.
headaches, maybe they're suffering from inflammation or some other things, and it's connected to the foods they eat, and they're
Yep.
just not aware that that is what's happening.
Absolutely. And I just want to, before I go back to talking about how we can fix it, and
Mhm.
actually, we should have Crystal on to talk about that because she's studying that right now for the gardening projects. She's looking into how that happens, and I can talk a little bit about from my knowledge. But I did want to say, and this is not a plug per se. Um, we do not receive any revenue for plugging stores or products or anything. But I will tell you, I have been incredibly impressed with Sprouts Market
Mm,
over in Silverdale at the trails. I had to park there for working with Kids on Transit on a couple of occasions, and I've been shopping there. Their organic produce is really good and a wider variety than most places around here. Um, they don't have as much of it, but they have different things. Um, their meats and their fish are phenomenal. I have had nothing but good to say about them. And this is just me saying I have had a lot of experience with a lot of really bad stores around here. I don't even shop at Fred Meyer anymore,
really?
and I haven't
What's
shopped at
wrong with
Safeway. I haven't
your
shopped at Safeway in 10 years. So
what's your angst with Freddy's?
their produce selection is getting less and less. Their stuff is all mass produced. There's less organic choices, and as they have now are in the process of merging with Safeway Albertsons. Here's a
Really?
statistic for you. Yeah, they've been working on the merger, and it looks like it's going through, where Safeway, Albertsons, and Fred Meyer will all be owned by Kroger.
Well, that sounds like quite the monopoly, right?
Well, let's just give a little statistic here. 85 million people in this country don't have any other choice but Kroger. 85 million. That's over a quarter of the people in this country can only shop at Kroger. So, what do you think is going to happen to selection and prices?
Yeah.
Yeah, we don't prosecute for monopoly anymore. We don't do antitrust runs anymore. We
Very rarely.
haven't, yeah, 40 years or so since we've been really active in that. because, well, government is politicians are funded by corporations to for re-election. That's just the truth.
So tell us this, Mark. If you don't shop at Safeway at all, and Freddy's is quickly coming off of your list, where do you shop?
Okay, so for produce, I usually go to Winco now. Winco and Sprouts because Winco tends to have
Winco.
Winco's got a pretty good selection of produce regularly.
Really?
So I go there fairly frequently. I like the one in Silverdale. Not that the one on Kitsap Way isn't great, but Silverdale's just bigger and has more selection.
Mhm.
For fish, I'm tending to go to Sprouts now because the fish in other places aren't all that great. For meats, I frequently go to Farmer George's off of Bethel Road in Port Orchard, um, or I'll buy it at Sprouts because I like to buy organic meats, or I'll buy local at farmers markets when they're available.
Now, where
Um,
is Sprouts at?
Sprouts is in the trails, the shopping center at the
Oh,
just off the
Silverdale.
freeway.
Okay.
Yeah, in Silverdale.
Is that new?
They've been there for a couple 3 years, but they are or they are predominantly they call themselves a farmers market, and they pretty much stand up to it. You have to be careful to read the ingredients because not everything is equally clean or good, but that's true everywhere. But I've been pretty impressed with them, and their service is really good. Their people are good.
So let me ask you a question, and I don't want to
Sure.
disparage Winco. Um, However, and maybe you know the answer to this or don't, or you have an idea. It just appears to me that when I go into Winco, the seafood department does not smell that great. Like
I
things aren't wrapped well.
Yeah,
Uh,
I don't buy meat there. I don't buy seafood. I don't buy meat. Though there are few occasions I do buy meat there. I usually or shrimp there or fish there. I buy shrimp, and they've been good every time.
Anyone else in the chat, want to chime in and just give me your thoughts on that? But that's a real turnoff to me. Like if I go somewhere and
Yep.
it smells off, and maybe it just needs
I've
to be
had
stored.
fresh frozen. I've had fresh frozen
Yeah.
shrimp from several places that just I open it up, I defrost it, and it smells fishy, and I just back it up and throw it away. If I can't
Back away slowly.
if I can't rinse the fishy smell off in one cold water rinse, I throw it away.
Mhm. Ugh, okay.
Yeah, I'm careful about that because I don't like. Well, I cook, so I'm
Yeah,
very
right.
touchy about what I use. Um, Going back to your question about can we fix the industrial agriculture? Yes, but we're going to need to take. Okay, understand that there has been a lot invested in industrial agriculture, and um, there's a lot of companies that much like the auto industry and all the other industries, they just want to keep selling and selling and selling and doing it the way they're doing. I will tell you that Monsanto has a huge vested interest in keeping things the way they are, even though at some point, as I pointed out multiple times, the planet is suffering, will continue to suffer, and we will suffer too. Scientists are saying we have 60 years of arable soil left to grow food in because of the way we do agriculture to destroy the soil. So let's talk about that for a moment. Okay, we've known as a species how to grow effectively for centuries. We've been doing it. We rotate cattle and sheep and such through the croplands as you grow. They fertilize. They do this. We can bring in biochar and inundate the soil with it. Biochar is not a food supplement, but it creates a home for microbes
Mhm.
to be locked in the soil so the soil becomes healthier. And then there are ways you can use algae. Michael Smith and the Green Powerhouse out of Whitefish, Montana, has been doing experiments with this, and people who grow with his algae formula are seeing larger, healthier crops. I mean, like not micro noticeable, very noticeable differences in the health of the color, the health of the size of the crop, just from adding natural algae and biochar and such like that. So yes, we can fix the soil, but we have to stop poisoning it before we can do that.
Just a
Whoa.
little explainer there on what arable soil is.
Oh, okay. I'm like somebody just made a huge freaking comment. So anyway, there is a way to fix it. What we're doing in Matthew's yard is fixing the soil as well. We basically went in and we put down Zoodoo, which is a compost made of zebra, rhinoceros, and giraffe. Not those. I mean, it's not. It's exotic and it's fun to do it that way. But there are other solutions. The one reason we like this one is because it's pretty pristine. Nothing because of the fact that they're a zoo. They use organic food. It's processed cleanly, and it's a very controlled environment. So if we go buy something somewhere else, we don't always know what's in it. But with this, we know exactly what's in it. So we put 25 gallons of Zoodoo in his yard. We covered it with as clean a cardboard as we can get. We soaked that all down. We put um, coffee grounds and stuff on top of it, and things to start mulching down and dissolving into the soil. So by the time we get to planting in early spring, it will be incredibly rich and healthy soil with a lot
Nice,
of microbes.
nice.
Yep,
So let me ask you this.
sure.
Is this why Bill Gates is purchasing all this farmland? And you hear a lot of folks saying, they want us to eat bugs, and because of the arable soil. Um,
Okay, so we're now back into the topic of this podcast because this is exactly kind of where I wanted to go, and I knew at some point we would.
just kind of lead me down there.
Well, no, you led yourself. I'm just answering questions. But let's talk about perception, how
Yeah.
we perceive things.
Hmm.
Okay, remember the media is all about clicks now. There is
Yeah.
no real media where they give you news. I mean, you've got is it Politico? Not it's not Politico. It's hold on a second. I have to look something up. Uh,
Well, Mark is looking that up. If you have not subscribed, liked, and shared, please do so. Make sure you share. Let people know. Also, if you are not getting the alerts, YouTube will tend to not only one unsubscribe you, but it will also turn your notification bell off. So make sure that you do that so you never miss an episode.
It's called ProPublica. It's an independent journalism firm. They're doing a fundraising piece right now. The Guardian is another one who does independent journalism and actually does a really good job of giving you news. ProPublica was the one who broke the Clarence Thomas information.
Mhm.
So they do a really good job. I don't trust most newspapers because essentially they've all become about clicks and not about news and not following up on a story. A story is not the headline. A story is what happens after the headline. And so I look for things that tell the whole story. So my perception is I want to know about is based on what I want to know about the entire story and how it plays out. And news doesn't and media doesn't give me that. So perception based on news stories and or internet clicks tend to allow us to be manipulated by people who control those sources and by sensational things. Um, when I am talking about something I am really confident about, it's because I've read a whole bunch of studies and I've talked to a bunch of people who actually are experts in the field to figure out if this is what's going on. And even then, I don't say this is the way it is. I said this is the information I have, and this is the information you can find. But based on that information, we all are in trouble if we don't start doing something about this. And this is one of the things I've said about that. So I'm trying to alter your perception to looking for information beyond what's offered to you. But a
Okay.
lot of us, I think you will admit, base our perception on the last person who talked to us or the last talking head that said something. And a lot of what you're hearing about bugs and such are people trying to get clicks.
So
They're
we're
not.
not headed towards Soylent Green.
Um, we probably are to some degree, but I don't think that it's a I don't as I've said many times before, it's not a conspiracy toward that, and nobody's in the control of that. It's kind of an organic thing. People are trying to organic thing. Okay.
I know, I know.
Um, People are trying to make money on whatever they can sell. People are trying to create fear any way they can. And we have to start asking questions about, should we be afraid of this? And maybe we need to come together and address some of these other things. And one of the fastest way to get food security is grow your own food in your neighborhood. How many times do we talk about that at Stone Soup? We will have a whole section about how to do it and resources to help you do it. And that's the way we're focusing on making this happen.
Yeah,
So,
absolutely. Just
so
there's
does
a,
that
there's
did
a
that
lot
answer
there.
your question?
No, because I still want to know. You're saying that it's clickbait, but is there some truth in it? Because he is buying a lot of
Oh,
farmland, right?
well, yeah, okay. Bill Gates. I can't answer what Bill Gates is doing, um, because Bill Gates is Bill Gates. I mean, he's making decisions. Now, a couple things about Bill Gates you need to understand that beyond the sensationalism, you hear a lot about Elon Musk, you hear a lot about Jeff Bezos, and you don't hear that much about Bill Gates except when he does something to spend a lot of money about in Africa. Now, Bill Gates is a pretty smart guy, and I'm not saying he's godlike or anything else. He's on the spectrum. He thinks about things differently. And I don't think you can attribute our normal thinking to somebody who thinks in a different way. To some degree, I'm in the same boat. So, and I know people say, "Well, you're thinking this." I said, "No, I'm actually not thinking anything like that." But I'm careful enough not to say I attribute what Bill Gates is doing to this. He sees something going on there, and he's looking to, you know, create something there. I don't know what it is, so I can't answer that. This is what Bill Gates is doing
Yeah, I'm
there,
not saying I'm
and
attributing anything to him. I'm just wondering what it is, right? What's
I
his
do too.
motivation for a tech person? And he does a lot of philanthropy, so
He
he's
does an awful lot of
like the
philanthropy,
last thing he's doing now.
and
But
I think that there are several articles I've read where he sees that we're pretty much on a path that we need to be off of. Why he's investing in Africa? Maybe they have the greatest need. I get a little frustrated that everybody's focused elsewhere in other continents and not focused here when we have people starving to death here.
oh no, he's buying a bunch of farmland up here
Yeah,
in America.
well, maybe he's going to try and rehabilitate it because it's unhealthy the way we do things.
That's interesting. So that's my question, and I
And,
look at uh,
and that's as good an answer as any of the stuff clickbait that they put up about it.
facts. I will grant you that. So I look at Bill Gates buying up all this farmland. I look at the genetically modified chicken and these other things coming down the pipe, and it's like, okay, what's going on?
You mean
And
your
this is pretty.
salmonberry? Yeah. Yeah. And no, I'm not talking about the round ones with the things that are salmon colored. I'm talking about the genetically altered strawberries.
Oh man, I
Yeah.
was watching Survivalist the other day, and they said, don't eat spiders because they have poisons and
Uh-huh.
toxins and whatnot. But if it gets bad, you want to make sure that you're eating a insect that is segmented.
Crickets. Crickets are high in protein. And yes, there are cricket dogs. They are available in the Midwest. There are people who are growing crickets. There's cricket meal that they can a cricket meal that is like a flour that they can make cookies out of. I have personally never tried it, but I have been in places where it has been offered and I declined. Partly I declined not because I'm not curious, but because I have food allergies, and if I eat something that I don't know, I'm down for a week, and I can't afford that.
Well, and I make faces, but we consume quite a bit of those things and worse every single day, right? Because
Yep,
there's an allowable amount that can be present in our food, correct?
absolutely.
Yeah. Ignorance is bliss.
So I for a while on the Kids Up Resiliency Project page, I get alerts every Sunday from USDA about recalls and food dangers and things like that. And for a while, I was posting them up on the Kids Up Resiliency page as a PSI or
Mhm.
PSA. And I started getting feedback from people saying, this isn't about here. And people giving me rations of shit about just posting that. Well, it's not going to affect us and everything. And I'm like, okay. So I
But
just
it
stopped
could.
posting it. It could. And I just stopped posting it because it's one more thing I was doing that I didn't have time to do.
Yeah.
And getting feedback from people that didn't appreciate me posting things that are in recall, which I thought was just information that people should have.
It's so interesting. In late December, I thought about starting to do that, and some of the products that I consume were on the recall list, and so that's what, alerted me. Like, I like the
Yeah.
bagged spinach, and, some of those quick, items that I can just quickly make, and so it's like, "Oh, wow," that's being recalled,
Hmm.
or this is being recalled, like, "Oh, this would even is this even recallable?" Like, I wouldn't even think that this would have an issue could have an issue with it. I was like, "I think other people need to know about this because no one's talking about it. I don't even hear it on our local news."
So let me just give you a way to do that.
Sure.
You can go onto the USDA site and you can sign up for their newsletter. And they will send it to your email on Sundays. And it will tell you all of the things that USDA is saying should be recalled and all of the food concerns.
I will absolutely do that. I love that idea.
Yeah. And then you get it every Sunday in your email and you can make your choices about what you're doing from there.
Drive myself crazy even more, right?
Yep.
Can you guide me through if you, know where to go really quick?
But, they change their sites all the time. So let's see,
Right.
USDA. Okay. Type in newsletter at the top in the search box. And that basically I went through that. They offered me the newsletter on the front page, and I clicked on it and said, "Sure, send it to me."
Oh, sign up for an,
Yep,
update.
there you are.
Go. I just wanted to do that so everyone could see that. All right.
And then
And
you can choose which newsletters you want to have. Faces of Agriculture. They have recalls and things like that.
let's see. You see recalls in there. Faces of Agriculture. I'd probably do the monthly one.
Other miscellaneous
Other miscellaneous.
at the bottom.
Okay.
The rest is for farmers and stuff. But basically, they can um, send you information about what's going on, and I get it every Sunday in my email.
Nice. All right. Always like to pass that stuff on. It's like, oh, I signed up, but I didn't show everyone else how to do that.
Yeah, and it might, USDA is part of it, but it might also be the Food and Drug Administration. I don't remember which I get it from, but they are happy to send you all the information you want, and then you can parse it the way you want to. But again, let's go back to perception and perspective. Perspective is the way you see everything. It's kind of like your broad worldview. Perception, on the other hand, is directly affected by your perspective. Does that make sense?
Hmm.
So if your perspective is that Fox News is your only source of news and you don't need anything more than that, and you've narrowed your perspective down, then your perceptions are going to be based on the things that Fox News say. So when we're looking at anything, source information helps you broaden your perspective.
The challenge is getting to the source information.
Right, but you have to be willing to ask that next question. And your perspective, again, should be about asking the questions and knowing more. But a lot of our perspective with our culture is to know less, and that information is already available elsewhere and somebody's already working on it. And you don't have to think about it. So let's go back to talking about Bill Gates.
Hmm.
Okay, the perception is, well, Bill Gates, for some people, the perception is Bill Gates is already working on it. And I don't have to think about it now. He'll fix it for us. Perception from your point of view is, I don't know what it is, but I'm suspect about it. For me, I don't know either way, and that's interesting, but I'll wait until the more information comes out before I start moving on a direction. When I put together the foundation of resilient ecosystems, and I just put out the, I don't know if you've seen it yet, the 10 steps of becoming, of getting where we need to go, and you'll find that on the Kitsap Resiliency Project page. You can, if you can grab the picture, you can put it up here.
Mhm.
Um, I look at things in a broad view, as broad a view as I can get, and it allows me to start parsing through what is, excuse the term, bullshit, and what is most likely a trend in our humanity. And I've been doing this for over 20 years. So when I started looking at something, I said, well, what's the heart of it? What's the reality of it? And I know that Bill Gates is buying this land, but I don't know what his motives are. And as far as I know, I can't just pick up the phone and say, hey, let's go have a beer and talk about it. So I have to wait until an unbiased source starts putting out information on it. And that will allow my perspective to start gaining some perception about the issue. You looking for it?
Yeah, well, what I'm trying to do is right now, Facebook will not let me take my messenger off. So I don't want to show the messages that
Okay.
people are
Let me
sending.
let me give you a link to it. Hold on a second. To do. Oh, okay. I got to get back to that. See, that's the trouble about me looking at Facebook, because suddenly I've got 14 messages I got to respond to. And
No.
there we are. And there we are live on the Kitsap Resiliency Project page.
Oh, nice.
Yep. And
So when I click the link, I look forward to seeing that.
okay, let me go there. Now people are trying to call me.
Well, but of course, right?
Yeah. Okay, here we go. Let me see if I can get you the link to this right here. Apparently, I'm having more luck navigating my page than you are. What a surprise. That's not always true, by the way.
No, it is not.
Okay, there, I put it in the private chat.
Okay. Yeah, much better. Nope, it still did it. Yeah,
Okay, so
still-
let me bring it up, and I will share it. Share the page. Let me go down here.
yeah, it's just pulling up Facebook Messenger along with it. And like I
Okay.
said, I don't want to show that, but I cannot turn it off.
Yeah, there we go. Um,
Looks pretty cool. Or pull it up on your screen and just share it.
that's what I'm trying to do right
What
now.
you're doing.
Yep. Share.
There we go.
There
Well,
it is.
bam.
Okay. So, and let me get this down. There's too many windows up now, and I can't see things. All right. So, as you see this, I'm just not sure if I can enlarge it much, but this will give you the idea. As we talk about the neighborhood ambassador as
Mhm.
the very first step, somebody who cares about community, who's willing to learn and to unlearn and to engage with their neighborhood. Then we talk about starting a garden in the community, and the garden is important because it provides food, but which is a mutual benefit for everybody in the community, and it will eventually engage people, even who aren't engaged initially, as they see the benefit. Make sense?
Yes.
And so you get some people working on it, then more people will get involved, and then more people will get involved, and then you come to a place where you're breaking bread together, and you're, harvest time, natural times to break bread together, and you start building community and start having more human conversations and talking about the things that are can be solved together. I mean, there's more to it, a whole lot more to it than that, but this is a 10-step program, so you get kind of a sense of where we're heading with this. Okay, then the next step, and I'm going to open it up full size if I can. Yeah, there we go. And can I enlarge it a bit? I can. What do you know?
There you go.
Okay, so we start off with the breaking bread. We get to the breaking bread part, which is right here. And then as you go forward, you get a human focus and you start talking more with your neighborhood about human things and what can be changed as you work together. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
You come to a consensus about what those things are, and this is not a everyone votes on it the next day. This is months of building relationships. This is long term. This is building a community, and you start talking about what happened in Japan on the first, and you start talking about that could happen here, and let's start preparing for it, because resiliency is about building capacity, which you've already done with the gardens, and you might be doing with other projects that are going on. And you say, but one of the things we need to do is we need to prepare for things that might happen together, because a little bit makes a many people make light work, and many people adding into it puts us preparedness a lot better, and you get more thoroughly prepared together. Which goes back to the stone soup story, which I say is that if everyone contributes, everyone thrives, and that's
Mm-hmm.
kind of the whole model here. So you get to that point, and then as we've done that with, let's say at this point, this is one neighborhood, and we're doing it with a dozen other neighborhoods. Okay, so as we do it with a dozen other neighborhoods, you're going to get a natural representation. Maybe it's the ambassador, maybe it's not, that will go from that neighborhood to a group of 14, 15, 20 other neighborhoods, and they each send representatives, and you start having that same process over again, where you're representing and you're telling, here's the priorities from my neighborhood, and this is what we reach consensus on. And other people might have the same priorities, they might have different priorities, and you go through the same process, and you report back to your neighborhood of what the consensus is, and come to where everyone's willing to work together on these five, but the list is much longer and includes everybody's concerns. I'm your Huckleberry. And I'm turning my phone off. Excuse me a second. This is getting really, really, really annoying now.
I'm your Huckleberry.
Yeah. Okay. So as we move forward into the consensus, you have to represent, you have to communicate and continue to communicate and move forward. Does this sound a lot like a democratic process?
Mm-hmm.
It's true democracy on a local level, one neighborhood at a time. And as you get down to the, why is this not doing this? Hold on. Okay. It's not rolling up and down anymore.
It's because you're zoomed in.
Oh, okay. Zoom back out a bit. All right, so we go down to 10. Essentially, you do the process, and then you create a grassroots network with the growing amount of neighborhoods and representation. And that neighborhood, and you get 12 neighborhoods together representing, and you go, and let's just run number 20 neighborhoods together represented on 5 projects you want to get done, and you go to the city councils.
Mm-hmm.
They're going to hear you. And if you have those 5 priorities, virtually every neighborhood in town has those priorities, or they're somewhere on the list. This is true democracy. Real democracy, one neighborhood at a time is what it's called.
I like it. And you've been doing that work. I probably should be more intentional on reaching out to neighboring city councils outside of Bremerton.
Yeah, and it's about bringing people together for true representative government. Now, how does this work when you talk about city councils and such? You have created a representative governing body here through the representative council of the neighborhoods.
Mm-hmm.
That can then move the representative government councils of the cities, the counties, the state as you grow. This is a model that can be used anywhere to grow grassroots networks, and hopefully one giant grassroots network that can eventually tackle things like agriculture and climate change.
Nice.
But you start from the ground up, and you know it's going to take time.
So we got to get started now.
Yeah. We need neighborhood ambassadors today.
And if you're ever looking for an excuse, it's the first of the year. So
Yeah.
let's go.
Let's
Perfect.
make it happen.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's something I launched just before New Year, actually.
Nice.
So I'm going to close out of that now and stop screen sharing.
Good. And where can they see that chart again?
On the Kitsap Resiliency Project page, on Resiliency Rocks, on Mark Boatwright Frost's homepage. I think I might have even shared it to the conduit.
Nice. The links are right there for you.
Yep. And this is how we change the world, folks. One neighborhood at a time. If you're expecting let me work on your perspective a little bit. If you're expecting a top-down solution and somebody to fix it for you, I will ask you to find me one instance in all of history where that happened.
Well, you know what? Flip it on its head. Do you really want a top-down solution, or do you want a bottom-up solution where you have input at it because now you're at the ground level, right? If it's top-down, your choice is minimal, if at all.
Yeah.
You're just taking what's being given to you. But if it's bottom-up, you're there deciding what it's going to look like and what it should be.
Okay, so in the in the event, the Stone Soup event,
Mhm.
the same thing happened all the time, and I have a lot of frustration with the whole interest thing. Interest is kissing your sister, guys. It really is. It's not worth doing. Why I'm really appreciative that you're interested in the event, and maybe Facebook will uplift it. But I posted the Mr. Miyagi from the first Karate Kid,
Mhm.
and I basically said, Mr. Miyagi says, you walk down right side of road, you're fine. You walk down left side of road, you're fine. You walk in the middle, eventually you get crushed like a grape. Karate, same thing. Karate do, you're fine. Karate don't, you're fine. Karate maybe, you crush like a grape. So the future is going to be chosen by people who show up. Show up.
I'm just trying to get the connection between how that's like kissing your sister.
Oh, just like, you really want to be with your girlfriend, and I don't know.
Just
It's an old saying. It's an old
yeah,
saying.
the sayings are just
It's
like,
not. It's
what?
not. It is not what you really want. Okay.
We're gonna circle back to that one. It's like you're gonna have to make the connection to me because that's not
You're
normally
just not
something
old
I would
enough. You're just not old enough yet.
say. Okay. All right. Well,
But anyway, the whole point is do or don't do. Being interested, great, gives me a warm fuzzy feeling. Are you going to show up? Are you going to participate? Are you going to bring some food so we can share food together? If you're not, then what are you doing? Now I expect Marwan to show up for this.
oh, I am. Well, I have my own special task on that
Yeah.
day. So, but I was thinking, should I bring chitlins? Would that be good in the soup?
I don't know.
Mm.
I'm sure that some people will probably want to eat it.
Yeah, I will.
That kind of falls into the menudo category for me.
Yes, I will. I will not subject folks to that. I was just having a conversation with someone else about that yesterday. That was a that was big in my household growing up, and
Yeah.
we had a big family, so my dad would clean them by the bathtub.
Yeah, I mean, I lived in Oakland for a long time, and there was this great market down there, and you'd go and buy all this stuff, and it's kind of like halfway between it's just like a giant marketplace down in downtown Oakland.
Mhm.
And I walk by the meat department, and there's the pig knuckles in the jars, and I look at them and go, "Yeah, I don't know what to do with those." So I walk right on by. I'm sure that people prepare them all the way, and I've had a lot of Southern food, and I'm right there with most people on collard greens. I like collard greens. I like the whole vegetable thing, but the whole pig knuckle thing and some of the other prepared things, I just don't know about.
So let me
Never
ask you,
made
what's
this
your
one.
favorite? Collard greens, turnip greens, or mustard greens?
I have not had turnip greens, but I've had mustard greens. I've had collard greens, and I like collard greens.
You should try turnip greens. Layla's
Yeah,
grandmother makes really good mustard greens and turnip greens.
yeah.
Delicious.
And I also like kale cooked.
Oh, I love kale.
Yeah. So there's lots of ways to do it, but again, we're trying to get people to understand there's a broader world than what you might think there is. I'm going to keep circling back to that because it's kind of the theme. We perceive things in one way, and it's informed by our perspective. So we need to broaden our perspective so we perceive more.
Yeah, and what I wanted to say to that earlier, this was before we brought up the 10 steps there was last year in 2023. I often speak because I suffer this myself. There's just not enough time, right?
Nope.
It's like if it's important, you're going to prioritize it. One of
Mhm.
the things that I would suggest doing, and what I'm going to try this year, is saying we say another one of those sayings: "How to eat elephant?" One bite at
One
a
at a
time.
time.
So no, you can't research everything all at once. Food for all, water for all, power for all. It's too much. When you carve out some time, maybe you're gonna say, you know what, for an hour, I'm gonna do some research and I'm gonna try
Mhm.
to get to the source. And I'm just gonna focus on this one thing. I'm not gonna worry about everything else. Today, this is what I'm looking at. And then bookmark where you end off so that you don't have to start over again when you pick it up maybe next month, because the next time you have an hour or an hour and a half, you're gonna go and cycle to water or housing
Mhm.
or something else that's really important. I think that's a I always say to you, folks need scaffolding. They need some framework on how to go about doing
Well,
this work
let me
because
let
it's
me
so overwhelming.
if I don't know about agriculture, but I will. Well, I do know about agriculture, but the simplest start to place to start. Wow, um, on infrastructure,
Mhm.
water, building, things like that. Look to the American Society of Civil Engineers website. They do a report card every 5 years or so, and they do it by state, so you can look up our state and see what they say about our state, and they tell you what the wastewater, what the drinking water, and what the concerns are, why they graded the state that way. Um, and you can go from there to links to see other things and learn about that. And you'll see about transportation, bridges, air transportation, all kinds of things.
Report card for America's infrastructure. This is 2021, a C minus.
Yep.
And I'll go ahead and put the link in the chat for those that want to check that out. And that really goes for anything, right? My
Yep.
New Year's Eve address talked about transferable skills, and you already have this skill set because you do it. You're raising kids, you're managing budgets, you're going to work and doing all these different things. It's just kind of thinking a little bit differently and shifting and saying, hey, there is a way that I can get to this information, maybe just spend some time getting to the source and collecting those sources. And the next time you'll go and you'll learn a little bit about it. And maybe you say, you know what? I want a cup of coffee. I'm going to come down and join those guys and, have a discussion.
Yeah, and we can point you in a lot of different directions. We can talk about how to fix a lot of the problems. We have a crisis in this country right now that's about to bite us square on the rear end, uh, in blue collar workers. We don't have them because we put people on the treadmill for the last 40 years to go get your MBA degree to become wealthy to work at McDonald's because there aren't any jobs there. There's all of this stuff going on, and in the process of that, we have Brownsville wastewater treatment plant. The people that are the engineers there have been there for 30 years. They make lots of money, but they can't retire because there's no one trained up behind them to take their jobs over.
And
This is
please,
true everywhere.
yeah, please have this conversation with your school age children, your young adults. And if you're a young adult yourself and you're like, you know what, this isn't paying enough, I can't afford my housing, training in a vocation is definitely a great way to go.
The power
Uh,
companies all need linemen. They need people to be out in the field. Every single uh, blue collar job needs people today.
and understand the writing is on the wall, and those who profit from for-profit institutions and whatnot are going to hold on to trying to squeeze out every dollar they can. So they will continue to steer you in that direction. And government's slow. It's going to take a while. There's going to be a deficit, and we're going to be in a crisis before we say, "Hey, we don't have enough nurses and doctors." We already have that issue, right?
Yeah.
But they're really not incentivizing that yet and making that a priority. Where it's like, "Hey, how do we cast a big net
And,
and say, you know what, we're going to make this accessible for as many people as possible to train in this new profession so we can replenish our ranks."
and so let me give you one other little incentive to do this.
Sure.
If you're hands on, they can't offshore your job.
Well, that's true. And hopefully a robot can't do it.
Yep. Well, maybe they can at some point, but that's another structure that we need to do that we can only do together.
But you can repair the robot.
Yeah, exactly
Or
so.
program the robot till it can program itself. And then we have Skynet, and well, that's all.
Yeah, I seem to be having this conversation a lot lately.
Probably.
Oh God, we've talked for an hour already.
All right, great first episode of the year.
Yeah, and just remember, be careful of the Terminator, and people showing up in time bubbles. Folks, one thing to think about. I spent a long time in tech, and we aren't anywhere near the technological infrastructure that we need to be for AI to be that much of a threat. But
I disagree with you.
But it's on the horizon, huh?
I disagree, but continue.
We need a lot more computing power, hardware computing power than we have.
I think we're seeing it already, right? There have been massive layoffs at many companies. I was thinking about doing a podcast showing how I use Chat GPT and some other tools that makes things easier. And when you think about maximizing what you can do as an individual or a team, which I haven't even introduced this to my team and my staff yet to show them, we're going to be able to exponentially output what it is that we're trying to accomplish.
Well, yeah, and that's on one level, but I'm talking about Skynet and the machines.
No. Yes. But I think.
But yeah, on a small level, that's what.
And the robots are murdering you. If the job is becoming obsolete, and your parents and you believe as a young adult that the way forward is kind of the same antiquated way that worked in the 80s and the 90s, you're going to be sorely mistaken, saddled with tens of thousands of dollars.
There's a whole new world. There's a whole new world, and I'll say it again: the future will be decided by the people who show up.
And people don't realize how many people that are making your coffee have a master's degree.
Yep, exactly so. But
and not that it's a bad thing, because I have a master's degree, and I'm all for education. I'm big on that. You just want to measure twice and cut once. No longer is the day having a degree as just being the end all be all, and you're going to be okay.
I would like to say that I'm for education. I'm just not for education the way we do it today.
I don't want to say that, and only because folks take that. There's a lot of spaces, especially on the internet, where folks are so against education. There are still basic things like reading and writing and arithmetic,
absolutely,
and science. And so
I just think that we shouldn't be teaching to the test, and I think we should be teaching skills.
Facts. But when folks hear that, they throw the baby out with the bathwater. So I'm very careful.
So we're back to perspective. We're back to perspective and perception.
Yes.
And cancel culture is a lack of perception.
Man.
And a lack of it. I did want to say one other thing, that the Screen Actors Guild strike, was to a great degree about AI taking actors' jobs.
Not just actors, writers.
No, yeah. So that was a big part of the strike, is looking for protections from that, and it's one of the first labor movements about that we've seen so far. But I think we're going to see many more.
Yeah, absolutely. And just real quick, because we're about to end.
Yeah.
You said sometimes it's the last thing you heard.
Yep.
And that's one big one, is education isn't worth anything anymore.
I'm not saying it's not worth anything, but I'm going to say that it needs to be significantly retooled.
Yeah, I agree, but that's why having a discussion is great.
Yeah.
And many, when folks are exposed to this in their social media bubble, whatever they access, they're usually hearing it's bad, it's a waste of your money, don't do it. And there's so much nuance to that.
There's a lot more, and I think that in the early hundreds, we're going to have a conversation about that, and you and I can get roll up our sleeves and get into a discussion about what I see is wrong with it and how I see we need to fix it.
All right. Well,
I just want the last word on this one.
Go ahead.
is if we continue to do what we've always done, we will get what we've always gotten. And we can't go that way anymore.
And we're not,
Yep.
right? There's quite a few of you that are watching this live. So shout out to you. Great numbers today. So again, for Mark Boatwright Frost, I'm Marwan Cameron. This is Tipping Points and Puzzle Pieces. We're here every Wednesday at 1 p.m. Tune in next week for episode number 98 as we get closer to 100. We'd love to have 100 live viewers watching. We may have a giveaway at Stone Soup, so don't forget about that. And of course, City Council is tonight. You don't want to miss that. They will be talking about the homeless shelter and what the options are, and we'll see if the mayor and city council can figure it out and find a way forward. All right.
Awesome.
Until then, ta-ta for now. See you next time.